There's a moment, maybe you've had it, where you're sitting alone, Bible open, prayers whispered in the dark, and yet nothing changes. No breakthrough, no answer, just silence. It feels like you're knocking on heaven's door and nobody's home. And in that silence, a question starts to form. What am I doing wrong? Now imagine this. A young woman, we'll call her Sarah. She's doing everything right. Church every Sunday, Bible study on Wednesdays. She volunteers, tithes, even fasts. But inside, she's desperate. Her family is falling apart. Her business is stuck. And every time she cries out to God, she hears nothing. One night, she stares at the ceiling, tears soaking into her pillow, and says, God, if you're real, why won't you move? What if I told you? The problem wasn't God's silence, but habits we don't even realize are closing the door to his voice. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "We are not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us. We are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be. But sometimes, we're not even positioned to receive his best. Not because we don't believe, but because we're blocking him without knowing it. There are 7 habits, subtle, sneaky, almost invisible, that may be standing between you and the breakthrough you've been praying for. And today, we're going to expose them, one by one. But before we dive in, take a second to like this video and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget the bell icon, so you never miss out on messages that could shift your season. Let's start with the first. Habit number 1, emotional numbness disguised as strength. You've heard it before, stay strong. But sometimes the walls we build to protect ourselves become the same walls that keep God out. Sarah had learned to be strong. After her husband left, after the bankruptcy, after the betrayal by people she trusted, she smiled at church and cried in secret. She told herself, I'm fine, God will fix it. But she wasn't fine, and God wasn't looking for performance. He was looking for honesty. In Luke 18, Jesus tells the story of 2 men praying in the temple. One, a Pharisee, lists all the things he's done right. The other, a tax collector, beats his chest and says, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And Jesus says that man, the broken, honest one, was the one God heard. You can't be healed from wounds you pretend don't exist. Ask yourself, have I been using strength to avoid vulnerability with God? Could my silence be shouting louder than my prayers? Here's something powerful you can do right now. Write in the comments, God, I want to feel again. It's not weakness, it's surrender. Habit number 2, holding on to bitterness while asking for blessing. Sarah didn't think she had unforgiveness. She thought she'd moved on. But every time someone mentioned her ex-husband's name, her jaw clenched. Every time someone else got a promotion, her heart sank with jealousy. Bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping someone else gets sick. C.S. Lewis said, to be a Christian means to forgive the inexcusable, because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. That's not just beautiful, it's brutally honest. Because real forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means choosing to release it, even while it still hurts. Jesus didn't say, forgive if they apologize. He said, forgive, or your Father won't forgive you. Matthew 6:15. Forgiveness is not just for them. It's the key that unlocks your own prison. Here's the question. Could your breakthrough be on the other side of the person you still haven't forgiven? If you're willing to take one step today, write in the comments, I choose to forgive, even if it still hurts. Habit number 3, confusing busy with faithful. Back to Sarah. In her pursuit of being on fire for God, she had no margin. Her calendar was full of ministry, but her heart was empty. When her child cried for her attention, she said, "Mommy's busy doing God's work." But what if the greatest act of faithfulness isn't found in doing more, but in resting more, in being present, in slowing down long enough to hear God whisper? Even Jesus, yes, the Son of God, often withdrew to lonely places to pray. Luke 5:16. If Jesus needed solitude, why do we think we're stronger than him? C.S. Lewis warned about the unspiritual condition of spiritual busybodies. He said we can become so focused on Christian activity that we forget Christ himself. What if your overcommitment is blocking the very encounter you're desperate for? Here's the truth. A crowded schedule can lead to a crowded heart, and God speaks clearest to the hearts that make space for him. What would happen if you made room today, not just in your calendar, but in your soul? Tell me in the comments, "Lord, teach me to rest in you." But now let me ask you, what if the next habit is something you've been taught is good, but it's been killing your faith from the inside out? Habit number 4, obsessing over the outcome instead of trusting the process. Sarah had one prayer: "Fix my family, God. Bring my husband back. Restore what was stolen." Every time she prayed, she had a picture in her head of exactly how it needed to happen. And when God didn't do it her way, she felt abandoned. But what if God isn't ignoring you? What if he's protecting you from your own limited vision? There's a scene in John 11 that always stops me. Mary and Martha send word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus is sick. Jesus loves them. He hears their cry, and he waits. He waits 2 more days. By the time he arrives, Lazarus is dead. From the outside, it looks cruel, heartless, like God failed. But Jesus says something stunning. This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. John 11:4. God's delay wasn't a denial. It was a setup for resurrection. And here's what Lewis said that echoes this truth. We're not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us. We are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be. Isn't that exactly it? We say we trust him, but we want to write the script ourselves. Could it be that your need to control the outcome is the very thing keeping God from surprising you with something better? Write this in the comments if you're ready to let go. God, I trust your way, even if I don't understand it. Habit Thacker 5. Treating faith like a formula. Sarah had started to think, if I pray enough, give enough, read enough, then God will bless me. She didn't realize it, but her faith had become transactional, like she was inserting coins into a heavenly vending machine and waiting for her miracle to pop out. But God isn't a system, he's a father. Remember the older brother in the story of the prodigal son? Luke 15. He stayed home, he worked hard, he followed the rules. And yet, when his younger brother returned and was celebrated, he grew bitter. He says to his father, "All these years I've been slaving for you, and you never even gave me a young goat." The father responds, "My son, everything I have is yours." Did you catch that? The older brother was so focused on earning that he forgot to receive. C.S. Lewis put it this way: relying on God has to begin all over again every day, as if nothing had yet been done. That's not a formula. That's relationship. That's intimacy. Have you unknowingly reduced faith to a performance? God doesn't want your perfection. He wants your presence. What if you stopped trying to earn your breakthrough and simply received his grace, one surrendered moment at a time? If that speaks to you, write this in the comments. I choose relationship over religion. Habit 6. Letting shame speak louder than grace. There was a night Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept hearing the same thought in her mind. Maybe God isn't helping me because I don't deserve it. She remembered her past, the lies, the compromise, the mistakes, and felt unworthy. Have you been there? Here's what shame says. You're too broken. You've gone too far. You'll never be enough. But here's what Jesus says. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. He doesn't say, fix yourself first. He says, come. Lewis once wrote, God doesn't love us because we are lovable, but because he is love. That truth, it levels the playing field. God's grace isn't based on your goodness. It's based on his. So if you've been letting shame build a wall between you and God, it's time to tear it down. Ask yourself honestly, am I punishing myself for what Jesus already paid for? Write this bold declaration in the comments. Grace speaks louder than my past. Habit number 7, speaking death while praying for life. This one is subtle, but deadly. Sarah would pray for breakthrough, but then she'd speak fear all day. Things never work out for me. I'm always behind. Maybe I'm just cursed. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. Think about that. You could be planting seeds of faith in the morning and uprooting them with your words by nightfall. Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Luke 6:45. If you want a new life, you've got to speak new words. C.S. Lewis understood the power of words. He didn't just write books, he wrote realities. And so do you, every time you open your mouth. God created the universe by speaking. What are you creating with your voice? Do a heart check. Are my words in agreement with my prayers or in conflict with them? If this hits home, I want you to declare something different today. Comment, I choose to speak life, not fear. And now, with all 7 habits exposed, here's the question burning in Sarah's heart, and maybe yours too. If I lay these down, what comes next? For Sarah, that final question, what comes next, felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. She had laid it all down, her bitterness, her need to control, the shame, the busyness, all of it. But now, she was afraid of the silence that followed. But listen closely, because what comes next is the part we often miss. Breakthrough doesn't begin with an outcome. It begins with a shift, something invisible, internal, like the first breath after being underwater too long, a lightness in the soul, a knowing that even before the miracle happens, God is near. That's the real beginning of breakthrough, when presence becomes more precious than proof. Sarah began to experience this, not because her circumstances changed overnight, but because she did. She no longer begged God from a place of desperation. She began walking with him from a place of intimacy. Her prayers became less about fix it and more about fill me. And that shift made room for something powerful, joy, in the middle of unanswered prayers. Jesus once told his disciples something shocking. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Did you catch that? Trouble is promised, but so is victory. Breakthrough isn't the absence of trouble. It's the presence of Christ in the middle of it. C.S. Lewis described it like this. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pain. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Sarah didn't need everything fixed to start praising. She needed ears to hear the whisper. So let me ask you this. What if your breakthrough starts when you stop chasing answers and start following his voice? If you're ready for that kind of shift, comment, I choose presence over proof. Now here's the twist. Breakthrough isn't always for you. It's often meant to flow through you. One night, Sarah was talking with a younger woman in her church. This woman had just been abandoned by her fiancé, and she was drowning in pain. As they sat in the back row, Sarah shared her story, not as a hero, but as someone who'd been held by God when everything fell apart. That moment, it brought healing, not just for the young woman, but for Sarah. And suddenly she realized her pain had become a platform. Her process had made her a vessel. Her breakthrough wasn't the restoration of her past. It was the birthing of something new. Jesus told Peter, "When you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." Luke 22:32. Breakthrough leads to purpose, and purpose leads to healing, not just for you, but for others. Could it be that God allowed the delay so you could become someone else's answer? Could your waiting season become someone else's miracle? If that's stirring something in your heart, I want you to boldly write, "God, use my breakthrough to bless someone else." But maybe you're still thinking, that all sounds beautiful, but what if I fail again? What if I fall back into old patterns? That's not doubt talking. That's the weight of every believer who's ever dared to walk forward while dragging their past behind them. And that's exactly why the final piece of this journey matters more than all the habits combined. Because this is the real test of breakthrough. What will you do after the chains fall off? That's what nobody talks about. We beg God for freedom, but freedom comes with responsibility. Just ask the Israelites. They were slaves in Egypt for 400 years. God sent plagues, parted the Red Sea, shattered the grip of Pharaoh, and still, just days into the wilderness, they were begging to go back. Why? Because freedom is unfamiliar, and sometimes bondage feels safer than the unknown. You might be standing on the edge of a breakthrough right now. The habits have been exposed. Your heart is open. The chains are loosening. But deep down, fear whispers, "What if I don't know how to live free?" And that's where Jesus steps in, not just as Savior, but as Shepherd. He doesn't just break chains. He leads you into life, real life, abundant life. C.S. Lewis said, "Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. You thought he was going to do a little bit of repair, but he is building quite a different house from the one you imagined, a palace. He intends to come and live in it himself." That's what breakthrough really is. Not just escape, but transformation. Not just freedom from something, but freedom for something. Sarah didn't go back to the life she had before. God didn't rebuild the same marriage or restore the same business. He built something better, a new woman, a wiser, softer, stronger version of who she was. And through that, he began writing a new story. So let me ask you, are you willing to let God build something you never expected? Not just fix what was broken, but create something you never imagined? That means letting go of the idea that breakthrough has to look a certain way. It means trusting that he knows the blueprint, even if all you can see is rubble. And most of all, it means walking forward, not just waiting around. Because breakthrough doesn't end with a miracle. It begins with movement. When Jesus healed the paralyzed man at the pool of Bethesda, John 5, he didn't just say, "You're healed." He said, "Pick up your mat and walk. You've prayed. You've wept. You've surrendered. Now it's time to move." So here's the final question. One only you can answer. What are you going to do with your freedom? Will you go back to Egypt? Or will you follow him into the wilderness, into the unknown, into the life that's more than you ever asked for? If your heart is saying yes, even with trembling hands, I want you to write this in the comments. I will walk forward. I'm ready for what's next. And take a moment, right now, to pray. Just whisper it if you have to. Lord, remove what's blocking me. Fill me with courage. Help me walk forward with you. Because the habits that held you, they don't have to define you. The past that haunted you, it's not your future. And the silence you thought was God ignoring you, it might have been Him clearing space for the whisper you're finally ready to hear. So breathe, stand up, pick up your mat. Your breakthrough has already begun. This next video is handpicked just for you. YouTube knows you'll love it. Or dive into this C.S. Lewis playlist for even deeper wisdom. And hey, don't leave without subscribing. Your journey has just begun.